Hi there viewers, my name's Kara, and this is going to be a different kind of video than what I normally do. I worked on this video at the end of 2012 and decided what I was going to say, but I haven't gotten around to recording it until now, in the middle of 2013. This is a video for parents, guardians, family members who have a loved one in their life who is currently attempting to or has recently come out as pagan or some other type of coming out process, whether it be religion or sexuality, just having a different political view, any kind of way that your children or people that you care for are coming out to you and telling you something new about themselves that you didn't know. I decided it was time that I do a video addressed to you all because I've talked to so many of your loved ones and they ask me, how do I tell them? How do I get by? If, I've told them and they don't accept my views, what do I do? How can I deal with this? How can I make them understand? And so I've spoken to a lot of people in that situation, in the situation that I was in, and I've talked about what I've done. But coming from the place of a person who has come out to family members and friends about various different lifestyle choices or worldviews, I thought maybe it would be beneficial for me to talk to you. So if you found this video on your own, or if someone has sent you this video, I hope that it helps. I'm calling this video for parents, but I do intend it to be for anyone who may be a guardian or adoptive parents, just loved ones, family members in general, maybe even significant others. So please know that this applies to more than just parents, even though I have written it thinking of a parent-child type relationship. So I don't have any children yet, so I can't speak as a biological parent. But I do have a parent who has gone through this process with me multiple times, and I have asked her to make some videos as well. But I've been in the position that your kids are in. I've been there before, and a lot of them have asked me for advice about how I did it or what I think they should do. And I can't tell them what to do because all of your situations are different than mine were. But I have tried to give them a little bit of support. So there are some things that I want you to know about what's going on with your kids, what's going on with your loved ones. Because I may have spoken to them or they may have watched my videos before, but you are the other half of that discussion and you need as much support as they do. So I have these things written down and these are based on my experiences with my relationships. So keeping that in mind, the first thing that I think you should know is that whatever this identity is that your child or loved one has revealed to you, it is not your fault. Firstly, it should not necessarily be considered a fault at all because not everything that's different is wrong. And using that kind of language can tell your loved one that you automatically think that thing that they've told you, that they've come to you about, is bad. And secondly, nothing that you did or nothing that you could have done caused this. It's not a reflection of your parenting or your guardianship. If you view this as a bad thing, just know that it's not because of anything you did. At one point, my mother expressed extreme confusion at how I ended up this way because she didn't raise me to be this way. And I tried to explain to her that you can't raise a belief or you can't raise a sexual orientation or a political view. You can't necessarily raise that. Sometimes a child will agree with the beliefs in which they were raised, either because A, it's truly what they believe deep down in their heart, or B, because it's all they know and they don't yet know that there is another option. They don't know that there's another way to believe or to think about these things. I knew that I didn't agree with my family's beliefs pretty early on. Some do and some don't. Some people may feel out of place with how they've been raised, but they don't really know anything about the other views until later. They don't find out about these other options until later on in life. And that may be as a teenager for a lot of people, or I've also spoken to people who are in their 40s and 50s and they've just now realized what they truly believe. So this is not just about kids. Some of us, we know that the way that we're being taught doesn't seem to sit right with us, but we don't know that there's any other way, so we feel like outsiders in our community. Like everyone else is in on some secret that we just can't quite comprehend. So the second thing I want you to know is that your kids, your loved ones, didn't necessarily learn their views from someone else. In other words, it's not someone else's fault either. Remember not to think of it as a fault, but some parents, some people in your situation may think things like, my kid wouldn't think that way if their friend so-and-so didn't introduce them to it, or if they had never seen that show on TV, they wouldn't be this way. And that might be true in some cases, but for the most part, I think that in terms of sincerely held beliefs or ways that we truly feel about the world or the people that we love, whatever it may be, simply having a friend who holds those beliefs or seeing it on TV isn't enough to make someone change their own beliefs unless they already agree with it. If your child absolutely held one belief, then meeting people who have different beliefs isn't going to make them change that. Seeing it on TV isn't going to make them change that. But if deep down inside they already believed something else other than how they were raised and they just never really knew how to put words to it, then meeting a friend who's open about it or seeing it more on TV and being okay might be a way for them to finally feel, oh my gosh, this is what I've been feeling all this time, and it's a real thing. I'm not just confused or making things up. Some people do just like to learn about other things, and it's not going to change their personal belief. But other people, it may be a way of seeing themselves in other people and realizing that they are not a terrible person for what they've been feeling all this time. So the third thing that I would like you to know is that your kids are not doing this to upset you, your loved ones. They're not doing this purposely just to make you miserable. Some may be doing that. I can't deny that there are some kids who really do just want to be rebellious, and whatever you tell them, they're going to want to do the opposite. And I think it's best to just go ahead and assume that it really is what they truly believe or what they truly feel. Because in the first case, odds are they really do believe this or they really do feel this way. And people always assume it's a phase or like they're going to grow out of it. And that's very insulting to someone with sincerely held beliefs. And then in the second case, if it is a phase, they'll probably decide whether or not it's really for them once they have the opportunity to learn more about it. So if you let them kind of explore it and then they realize, oh, no, I really don't want to do this forever, it was just a phase, then it'll be done. And in the third case, if they really are doing it just to upset you and you're not upset and you're accepting it, then the fun's over. Why would they keep rebelling if you're okay with it? So as far as I can tell, being supportive and accepting, not necessarily agreeing, I'm not saying you have to agree with their beliefs or their worldview, but supporting that and letting them know that having their own worldview is okay is really the best way that I can see to proceed. Because whether they truly believe it or they're just trying to give you grief, I think that's the best way to make it kind of easier on everybody and allow them to find out what it is that they actually do believe. But how do I accept something that I believe is wrong, you may ask? Think about why you believe that way. Is it because you were told to, that's how you were taught, and that's how you were raised? You were raised to believe that it's wrong? Or because you have weighed all the options yourself, you've looked at all the pros and cons, and the way that you have personally chosen honestly seems like the best way for you. Now think about your child or your loved one, the person in this situation. Do you want them to believe something just because they were told to, even if they don't feel it's right in their heart? Or do you want them to have the opportunity to decide for themselves and figure out what's really best for them? The fourth thing I want you to think about is that other people's beliefs are as sincerely held as your own. You save a lot of time arguing this way. Take a look at how strongly you feel about what you believe. Just think about it for a moment. Whether it's your religion, it's your sexual orientation, it's your politics, whatever it is. Think about that for a moment. Think about how strongly you hold those beliefs, that view. Not necessarily your brain, not the part of your life that says, what does society think about me, but truly in your heart and soul, if you believe in souls. How do you feel about it? What do you actually feel about this topic? Now imagine someone else coming along and trying to convince you to believe the opposite. If you change your mind, then maybe your beliefs weren't as sincerely held as you thought they were a moment ago. Because maybe you just never thought about that other thing. You never weighed that option before and then came to your own. On the other hand, if that person can't convince you and you hold fast to your beliefs, then your beliefs are very important to you and you probably have thought about it a lot and you've already weighed that other option and you knew that it wasn't going to work. So no matter how much that person tries to convince you, it's not going to work because you've already thought about it and you already know that your way is the best for you. Now take a moment to think about the fact that those other people who may try to convince you otherwise, they also hold on to their beliefs as strongly as you do. If your child or your loved one is in a seeking or a questioning phase of their journey, then they're trying to weigh out all those different options. They're trying to figure out what they actually do believe. Let them have that opportunity. If your child or your loved one has already found some answers to some questions that they were looking for, then they probably already have a really strong belief in that and they feel very close to it. If you wouldn't want someone else disrespecting your beliefs that you've really come to believe, then you shouldn't disrespect theirs. The fifth thing concerns safety. Obviously, if your child or loved one's beliefs include endangering themselves in some way, then you're gonna be concerned, and that is valid. But this depends on whether they're actually doing something harmful or if your personal belief, you just think that they're doing something that's going to harm them. So the fifth thing you should know is what's actually going on. And you can figure that out by reading up on the subject, going to reputable sources, or by asking your child or your loved one, what is it that you're actually doing? What is it that you actually believe? Having a conversation about it. As I tend to say a lot, if you want to know what a person believes, it's best just to ask them, because everyone kind of does things differently. Not every stereotype is true. Not every stereotype. Some of them, of course, are derived from a little bit of truth somewhere down the line, but they really don't hold true for the entire population, the entire group. And you will find sources online, in books, on multiple topics, whatever topic you're looking into. You will find sources written by the opposition that are specifically to make you think that these things are wrong or bad or whatever the case may be. So you really have to be aware of what you're reading. Where is it coming from? Is it coming from that group and how they actually portray themselves to others? Or is it coming from a group that wants you to believe that they're wrong? So don't just read what the opposition says. Read what the groups say about themselves. Talk to your loved one. Talk to them about what it actually is that they want you to know, what they're actually doing. Like I said, I don't have kids yet, but if my child came to me and said, oh yeah, I actually do want to do this extremely dangerous thing that might be bad for me physically, mentally, emotionally, or however, then I'm going to have a chat with them about it and say, I don't think that's the best way for it to go. You know, I would be perfectly understanding if my mother thought that my beliefs or anything that I was doing actually was endangering me, and I don't want that for anyone. Child, parent, anyone. I don't want anyone to endanger themselves. But as a person who is a member of a few groups that are considered minorities or not the mainstream, there are actually a lot more of us than people think, and I know personally that the things I do, the things I believe, the people I love, any of that, it's not actually hurting anyone, it's not harming anyone, I'm not doing anything to endanger myself or others. So it's really just a matter of the people who disagree with me, why do they disagree with me? Do they disagree with me for themselves, for their own sincerely held belief, or for some reason do they think that me living the way that I do is an affront to them? And why is that? I hope that that gives you some things to think about and to talk about with your loved one, and I do want to encourage open and honest communication when possible. A lot of your children, loved ones, whoever it may be, are really afraid to talk to you because they think you're going to react in a really negative way, you're not going to hear them out, you might kick them out of the house, you might, any number of things. People are really afraid to bring this kind of thing up. So if you can foster an environment where even if you disagree with each other's beliefs, people know that they can be comfortable coming to you and talking to you and being honest with you, that would be a really great thing. Thank you so very much for watching and listening, and I do hope that it helps in some way or other, even if it just gives you ideas, gives you something to think about. Until next time, don't forget to be awesome, blessed be, and goodbye.